Pixie Queen by Anthony Green has been an annual staple of mine for years.
And I listened to it once yesterday.
Welcome to Spin It. Hey everybody, welcome back to Spin It, the record ranking podcast for people who would rather be listening to music. I'm James. With me is Connor. Connor, I still feel like I can't tell you to say hi, but I don't know how to start now. I'm still thrown off.
Hey everyone, how's it going? We're back. Couple weird episodes in a row. We had the singles episode, then the spooky Halloween episode. Feels good to be back to just a standard old episode.
That's right. Yeah, we're officially out of October, so there's no more October gimmicky stuff going on.
We're into November, so now it's time for all the Thanksgiving gimmicky stuff. Gobble gobble.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
All those classic Thanksgiving songs that everyone knows and loves.
I've thought about this before. I don't think I know a single Thanksgiving themed song.
There's the Charlie Brown one, right? Isn't there a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving song? Instrumental that plays during the Thanksgiving episode?
Is there?
I think so.
If there is, good for them. They've got the only one.
Of course, then there's also the song Turkey Bird by Haywood Banks.
I don't know if I know that one.
You don't? You don't know Turkey Bird? I am a turkey bird. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba. You don't know that song?
Never heard that in my life.
Go ahead. Sending you a link.
Are we doing another live react thing like the singles episode?
I think we quickly are, yeah.
No, I've never heard this in my life.
This is a classic Thanksgiving song.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
There's not a chance this is a classic. How old is this?
I don't know when the song came out, like 10 years ago probably.
I'd also argue that, I was about to say there's nothing to do with Thanksgiving, but then they talked about Thanksgiving specifically. Okay.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't what? That doesn't rhyme. Oh, it's only a minute 51 seconds long, but it feels like 2 hours. That is not going to become a staple of my Thanksgivings, I hate to say.
It's so good. What are you talking about?
No, not at all.
It's just a little turkey bird.
And we're not here to talk about turkey songs.
Welcome to our episode on Haywood Banks, everybody.
No, we're not taking no surprise pivots. I'm not ready.
All right, we'll come back to you in the future, Haywood Banks. We'll come back for you. No turkey bird left behind.
Instead, we're talking about Anthony Green. Anthony Green and the album Pixie Queen. Anthony Green was born in Pennsylvania in 1982. He's a Midwesterner. He got started playing music in 1997, and he's been in so many bands. Probably more bands than anyone else will cover for quite a while. You might know him from bands like Sousin, Circa Survive, The Sound of Animals Fighting, Zoloft, The Rock and Roll Destroyer, Audience of One, Jeer at Rome, Chino Moreno, Good Old War, Food, etc. There's so many bands. Like, I left off a lot of band names, and that was a lot of bands that I said.
That's a lot of bands.
Between all of these bands, he's put out more than 25 projects over the years. Lots of his stuff is kind of post-hardcore / hard rock, emo, alternative, whatever. Each of these different bands kind of has their own little style that he contributes to, mostly vocally. But as a solo artist, which is how we're talking about him today, he's released 14 albums and EPs from 2008 to the present, and they air way more on the acoustic side. Kind of closer to like an indie rock or almost edgy Americana, I guess. It's a pretty stark contrast in any case. Like, go listen to Sousin and then listen to some of Anthony Green's solo work, and you'll be surprised to some degree that it's even the same guy.
But it is.
It sure is.
Pixie Queen is one of his newer ones though, right?
Yeah, it is, relatively speaking. Of his 14 solo releases, Pixie Queen is his 12th, which makes it his 4th solo LP of all new original music. And it came out just in 2016, which is a year before I discovered it. So I was a little bit late to the game on this one, but I've been here for a while. He's a multi-instrumentalist, as you could probably guess if you've listened to this record, and, if you haven't listened to this record and you want to,
do it.
Go check it out now.
Do it now.
Yes.
Right now.
Do it now.
Hit pause, open a new tab, listen to it, close that tab, hit play.
On this. Yeah, you'll be back at this.
Yeah.
Well, if you've listened to Pixie Queen, you could probably already tell that he sings and plays the guitar, but he also plays the bass and the keyboard. So for a record like Pixie Queen, where those are pretty much the meat and potatoes, he kind of does all of the legwork here. And lately, something that's really cool, he's become a pretty vocal advocate for breaking the stigma around mental health issues. He started to open up publicly about all of his own struggles, and he's worked really closely with the National Alliance on Mental Illness. So you may be wondering, why did you pick this album?
Why did you pick this album, I'm wondering?
Wow. Boy, did I call that or what? I picked this album because this is November. We're kind of getting deep into the autumn months.
And it's got a Thanksgiving song?
No. This album, I think I discovered it in the fall, but it's just always been more of a late autumn album for me. Like every time it gets to be around fall, I start to listen to this again because it just has that kind of vibe to it with this acoustic guitar that's so prevalent, and a lot of these themes are pretty sad, and like, I don't know, we'll get into it, but I think it's actually a very fitting album for the season. So I thought, what a better time to include it on the podcast than right now when I would normally be listening to it.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, Pixie Queen peaked at number 171 on the Billboard 200.
Not bad. I mean, to make it into the 200 at all is impressive.
Yeah, I know, right? Despite this being an album full of songs about insecurity and kind of having this really sad undertone, in an interview that he gave around the time of the record's release, he said, quote, "I think I'm the happiest I've ever been." So I think that's really cool, and I'm sure that this album played a big role in just helping him express his emotions and kind of vent those feelings out into the ether just to have some outlet for it.
Cathartic.
Yeah, it's cathartic, and it comes across very apparently when you're listening to it.
Yeah.
I have to ask, how much do you think the mixtaper knows about Anthony Green?
I don't know. The mixtaper's kind of kept this one a little close to the chest. You know, he's been putting in some extra hours at Starbucks, and we haven't had a lot of time to just chit and chat, you know?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Maybe he's a big Anthony Green fan. I don't know.
He might be. I believe it.
Let's get him in here and ask.
Sure, let's play Factor Spin.
Factor Spin. No. Hey, it's me, the mixtaper.
Yeah, we all know who you are. Like you say, it's me, the mixtaper, every time.
It's my catchphrase. The fans love it.
The catchphrase is you saying your name. Sure. I mean, who am I to say what the fans should love?
It's a good marketing strategy. You know, you got all those other catchphrases, you know, up, and away. That doesn't tell you anything about who the guy is.
Branding.
Mine tells you exactly who I am, so...
No, you're right.
As I say it more people hear it, more people learn who I am, become more famous. Eventually, I'll be able to stop this gig and become a full-time supervillain.
I thought you were going to say a full-time barista.
No, I hate that job. Some crazed fan of the podcast found me there here like a week ago.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Took a picture of me. I had to tell him no flash photography.
I did hear about that.
Regular photography's fine. Flash photography, not allowed. It scares the coffee.
The tannins. It'll ruin the tannins.
It'll ruin the tannins.
Anyway, Factor Spin. Let's do it. I'm ready for another round of Factor Spin. We split it 50-50 last time.
Yeah, for those of you who are new to the podcast or have been following us here since the last time I explained the rules and haven't quite picked them up, I present a bunch of supposedly true facts to James about the artist or album, and he can ask as many questions as he'd like, but at the end of the day, he has to tell me, am I lying to him, or is this a true fact that I found?
So far, we've had some on weeks and some off weeks, weeks that I do better, weeks that you do better.
Yeah, you're still a little ahead on the running tally.
Just a little bit. So I'm hoping that today is another chance for me to increase my lead.
I need another good week.
Well, maybe this will be your good week. I mean, I hope not, but maybe.
Well, let's find out. First, he used to wear a skunk mask on stage.
A skunk mask? Was this like all the time for not like a one-time thing? He used to do it regularly.
At all the performances.
Was this one of the particular bands that he was in that he would do this for?
Between 2004 and 2008, he was part of the anonymous indie band, The Sound of Animals Fighting, that you mentioned earlier, which was a supergroup of 12 different artists who would collaborate on different songs.
Sure, yeah.
When they would perform, in order to keep their anonymity, they all wore animal masks on stage to hide their identity and would refer to one another by their animal name. He specifically wore a skunk mask and was known as the Skunk.
Did he pick the skunk or was it assigned to him?
I would think they all picked them out.
Yeah, after listening to Pixie Queen, I feel like he would kind of assign himself the skunk at some points on this record. When did that end? Like, when did they decide to stop being anonymous? Because obviously we know it was him now.
They did very few actual live performances to begin with, but at the end of it, when they were officially done with all that, they did a 4-concert run where they did them maskless, you know, to reveal their identities.
Now, they were all animals. Did they fight?
I mean...
You know, the sound of animals fighting.
Maybe. I'm gonna choose to personally believe that they all had little bits that went along with their animals that they would do on stage.
Oh, right, so the skunk would, like, just let one rip? Crop dust everyone?
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and say that this one's true.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah, there have been plenty of gimmicky bands out there who have tried to do the anonymous thing, and it's kind of cool to think of a super group of people that's anonymous and decides to mask up like that. Skunk is an interesting choice, but again, I don't think it's necessarily out of the wheelhouse of what he would have picked. So I'm gonna roll the dice on true here.
This is indeed a true fact.
All right.
Yeah, he picked out Skunk, and this was his stage name while part of that super group. Again, not too many live performances, so he didn't wear it much, but up next, he votes for himself for governor of Pennsylvania every election.
This is the kind of fact that I love. All right. For governor of Pennsylvania, what are the requirements to be governor of Pennsylvania?
I had a feeling you'd ask this, so I looked them up for you. You got to be at least 30 years old.
Sure, he's got that covered.
You got to live in Pennsylvania.
Uh-huh.
And that's pretty much it.
That's it?
Those are the two big ones. I mean, there's all the normal things that go along with holding any public office, but the age requirement varies from state to state. Pennsylvania, it's 30.
Right, and he just does this kind of tongue-in-cheek. He doesn't campaign or anything. He doesn't want to be governor. He just doesn't want to vote for any of the actual candidates.
No. So yeah, in a 2014 interview, he was asked who he'd be voting for, and he revealed he'd be voting for himself because he said it would be the first election that he was eligible for the position.
Oh, so he just started as a joke.
Yeah, and even though he doesn't want the job, he actually has a fear that if the rest of Pennsylvania were to decide to vote for him, that he'd lose the race because he didn't believe in himself. So he always votes for himself just in case.
What? So he's worried that if he doesn't vote for himself, everyone else in the state will, and he will lack the confidence to do the job.
Enough people would. Well, not everyone. I think the argument here is that enough would that he'd lose because he didn't vote for himself.
Sure. Does he know? Has anyone else in Pennsylvania voted for him ever?
I don't know. But he did say in 2018 he was asked, in an interview then if he would be voting for himself again, and he said yes. So that's why I assume he's done it. He's done it both times he could. So I don't know. Maybe he'll do it. Maybe he'll break the streak in 2022.
I don't see why not. Just keep it rolling. This is interesting. Despite this being a more serious kind of record, he does strike me as a guy with a pretty healthy sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is something that he would do. So I'm gonna take a gamble on fact again.
Well, in fact, again.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, he did not say he'd be voting for himself. This is a spin.
Oh no, I got spun.
Get spun on.
So I'm guessing this is a fact where nothing about it was true because there was really nothing else.
No, I just made it up.
Good work. Let the skunk govern.
Up next, he was once roommates with Jamie Foxx.
No way. Okay, where were they roommates? At school somewhere or just like in real life?
In real life.
When?
So this would have been early 2000s, right after he got out of high school. While pursuing his music career, he answered a Craigslist ad for a roommate. Said roommate was Jamie Foxx.
Okay, I'm not super familiar with Jamie Foxx's acting career. When did his work start to take off? When did he start picking up acting gigs?
Also early 2000s. They lived together for 2 years before Jamie moved out to California for his acting career.
Okay, and they lived together in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Did they get along? Like, were they good roommates to each other?
Yeah, the two are still good friends. Jamie Foxx had an interview that they still text one another and visit one another from time. Jamie has gone to a couple of his concerts.
I think this is a spin.
I think this is a spin.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning spin on this one.
Any reason why?
No, not in particular. It just feels very untrue to me.
You don't think that Jamie Foxx would ever have a roommate?
No, that's not what I mean. I just mean, what are the odds that two famous people who are famous for completely unrelated reasons would have shared a room in the same place at the same time? You know what I mean? Like, I think this is a spin. I'm gonna go with a spin on this one.
All right, well, your intuition paid off. This was indeed a spin.
All right.
Jamie Foxx was not roommates with Anthony Green.
Okay, were either of them roommates with somebody else?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Jamie Foxx isn't even from Pennsylvania. He's from Texas, so.
I wondered. Like I said, I don't know too terribly much about Jamie Foxx. He doesn't strike me necessarily as a Midwesterner.
I got one more for you.
All right, one more. So far, 2-1. This is going to be, once again, the determinant between 3-1 or 2-2.
He carries a $5 bill in his wallet that has a special meaning to him.
What's the special meaning?
The $5 bill was given to him from his very first record sale.
Oh, okay. When did he make this sale? Like I said, he's been doing music since 97?
While still in high school.
Yeah, okay. That tracks. Is there anything identifiable about the $5 bill that separates it from another? How does he know that he hasn't pulled it out and spent it and, like, kept another $5 bill on accident?
He keeps it in a special pocket in the wallet behind a picture of his wife.
Does he carry it around with him because he thinks it's like a good luck charm? Is there a reason that he carries it around instead of just, like, framing it or something? I don't know.
So he does it to remember where he came from and the people who initially believed in him.
Oh, I like that. So he sold this record in high school. Was it one of his friends that bought it? How'd the transaction go down?
It absolutely was. So in high school, when he was a part of the band Audience of One that you mentioned, though at the time it was still called Handsome Pete, which I just want to do a quick tangent on and say how great of a band name is that, Handsome Pete.
It's a really good one.
We should create a band called Spin It Pete.
Why?
I don't know, just the name Pete in a band name is fun. Anyway, while they were, in this band, they burned a few songs that they had recorded, and band member Tommy Tommy Dougherty is, I think, how that's pronounced. Tommy Dougherty's Garage onto a CD. But they sold the CDs at the live performances they did at a local restaurant for $5. And his best friend at the time, who came to the show, bought a CD to support him.
Why did he get to keep the 5? Like, there's a whole band here. Why didn't they, I don't know, divvy it up or something?
He was the front man, so I don't know, maybe he just called dibs on the first one.
Fair enough. Typical front man.
I feel like it wouldn't be as memorable if you're like, oh, we got this $5 bill, let's all just break it for a bunch of singles and take $1 each. That's way less memorable.
Yeah, it is. I think this is tricky. I think this is a tricky one.
Tricky? You think it's a tricky one?
Yeah, I think most of this fact is true, without a doubt.
Oh.
I think the starting with a band, selling records in high school, his best friend buying one, I think that's all true. Pretty much, I have no problem with that. The issue I'm running into is I don't really know whether he would still carry it around in his wallet. He might still have it, and that's fine. But if there is something about this fact that's false, I think that's going to be the key piece.
Man, you think I'm getting you just on the fact that it's in the wallet? You think I'm going that detailed on you?
One that he carries it around with him. I'm going to say that this is true, though.
Oh, wow. Really whiplashed me there. Setting this up to be a spin.
No, what I'm saying is I'm going to say that it's true, but I'm going to predict that if it's not true, that's the bit of it that's the lie.
Gotcha.
That he just doesn't carry it around with him and everything else is fine.
Well, you were partially right. This fact is indeed a spin, but the only part of it that's true that I'm aware of is the fact that he was in the band and they performed. I made up all the stuff about burning them onto CDs and his friend buying them and him keeping the $1 bill.
Wow.
Some of that could be true. I don't know. I just made it all up once I saw I wanted to include Handsome Pete somehow.
Sure. I should have known.
So that's the avenue I went.
Okay, yeah, I feel a little bamboozled by that one. That one got me pretty good.
Yeah, you were sold on a lot of it.
Yeah, I know, I was.
But you went 2 for 2, another 50%er, so the ratio of the score doesn't change. Neither of us gain any ground.
We're deadlocked in battle. I liked a lot of those facts.
At least they were engaging, they were fun.
Yes.
Well, I'm off to go find some interesting truths and lies about next week's artist.
All right, I'm excited to see what you come up with.
Maybe I'll find out that they were also in a band at one point with the name Pete.
I thought you were going to say they were also in a band, and I was going to say, well, yes, they were.
And with that, I'm off to think up more lies, truths, and espressos. Yeah.
You're off to think up more espressos? Whatever.
Yeah, you gotta come out. Yeah, sorry, this is Connor. I'm back. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, the mixtaper. He's all the time coming up with new recipes. Yeah, new drinks.
New drinks? Oh, he's inventing drinks for Starbucks.
Yeah, he's a mixologist for Starbucks.
Did not know that. That's new.
He takes credit for the pumpkin spice idea. I mean,
wow.
And you don't know if you can trust him.
Bold,
but
considering that they had it for years before he worked there.
I mean, we don't know how long he's worked there.
Yeah, we do. You just said the other week he had to take on a part-time job at Starbucks.
But again, we can't. He's a liar, right? He's the mixtaper.
Oh,
so
you're right.
He could be lying.
He
to
could
us,
be lying to us.
He claims credit for pumpkin spice.
Right. Well, I'm skeptical, but okay, I'll let him have that. He needs a little victory every now and again.
Let him think that we think that he's telling the truth.
Right. Let's talk about Pixie Queen. Let's get into it. Let's talk about, first of all, the album cover. It's a pretty simple album cover.
It's a very simple one.
Yeah. At the top it says Anthony Green presents Pixie Queen in really theatrical kind of letters. And then down below there's a naked woman sitting by a campfire. That's his wife, Meredith.
She is indeed naked. Oh, not any naked woman. That's his naked wife.
Yes, you're correct. Yeah, that is.
She's sitting awfully close to the fire, first off.
I've always thought the same thing. I've always been like, and like...
especially for not having any clothing on. Like, you're gonna scorch something you don't want scorched.
You run the risk. Yeah, you're really, quite literally playing with fire.
It's a nice looking fire, though. They went with, the teepee style for the logs?
Yeah. And you can see, I love the ember that comes off of it, where it's like the shutter speed wasn't quite enough to catch it.
And it's like streaking, like the line?
Yeah, so it's in a streak. I really like the album cover. I really think it fits thematically with a lot of this record.
Yeah. The darkness. The majority of the album's like darkness, right? And then there's the bright light in the middle with his bright light, his wife, naked, sitting too close to a fire.
So much of the album is exactly about that.
If you listen to this album and didn't get the imagery of sitting too close to a fire naked, you listened to it wrong.
Right. No, but so many of these songs on this album are for and about his wife and their relationship, and they're also about the ways that he relates to her or the way that he feels about himself. And I think at the end of the day, he feels like he's in this darkness, and his wife, the titular Pixie Queen, is like the light, is what keeps him grounded. That's the thing that he's drawn to like that.
Bold move to make her naked, though.
Yeah, it is. But whatever. It's an artistic choice.
Oh no, it just feels like, they usually have like t-shirts with album art on them that you can buy and stuff. Like, imagine walking around with a shirt of another guy's naked wife.
Yeah, you're right. It'd be strange.
There's not a lot to talk about on the album art itself, but I feel like we'll reference back to it when we get into the analysis here.
Let's talk about the album. There are 11 tracks on this album. The first one is called You'll Be Fine. He wrote this song, at least parts of it, just before the birth of his son. He said, I was terrified about being a bad father, and I knew I was a bad husband, so I was dealing with a lot of fear around that. So you can see right away that this kind of self-deprecation or this insecurity in how he's doing as a husband to his wife and a father to his kids, that creeps in, right from the get-go on this record.
Yeah, I really like the guitar beat at the beginning of this, the bud up, bud up.
Yeah.
And then the like eerie singing that comes in when they get into the I've gone out, really drawn out. It was unexpected.
Yeah, it starts off like a march, which I think is kind of cool. It's not something you hear a lot, this drum roll-esque beat and the bum of the guitar.
Yeah.
I just love the reverb on his voice. It is different. And we start to hear something that's a hallmark on this record, those really ethereal harmonies that are really kind of faint and far away. Mm-hmm. And he does all of the vocals. You can just hear that it's him multiple times.
Yeah.
But there's this distance to it, especially on this song. I think that's pretty, poignant, very intentional.
It's an interesting contrast, I guess, because again, the bud ups are very prevalent the entire time that he's singing, it's like what's driving the song. But yet then in the background, you have borderline too slow lyrics, like if you took that bud up away, he'd be taking way too long to say each of those lines.
Yeah, they're really quick and to the point. Yeah, and I noticed that on a couple of other songs on this record too, that he almost lets the music pull his vocal along, if that makes any sense. Like,
yeah,
he doesn't bother keeping up with it. He just kind of lets it go ahead and he follows it as it goes. If that makes any sense. It's really hard to explain.
Makes sense to me.
One of my favorite lines in this first verse that he repeats later on is, if I had something you wanted, you would stay. That's just the horrifying way I see it. Like, I am in this relationship and I only can imagine it continuing as long as you've got something that you want from me, that you only want me for the things that I can provide, and when that's gone, you'll just leave.
Yeah, and that's where it actually picks up a little more to match the music too, when it gets on the, and if I had something you wanted, it picks up, and I like that better, actually. Like, the slow stuff is cool thematically at the beginning, but I'm glad that he picks it up a little bit towards the end of the verse.
Yeah, it's varied. And then, right before the chorus starts, we get this massive shame. Oh.
Shame!
Yeah, he just yells it out, and it's just this, I don't know, that, like you talked about, that catharsis. This is that moment of catharsis right before the chorus flips the song on its head.
Right before the Dory moment.
Yeah, go on and make your Finding Nemo jokes.
Yeah, you knew that. You should have known they were coming. Screaming like a whale. How does that not instantly take every person who's ever seen Finding Nemo right to Dory speaking whale?
Yeah, the first line of the chorus is, screaming like a whale from the love I've failed, dreaming of a way, but my hands are tied. This is more, in terms of the vocal, this is more the Anthony Green you'd see when you would see a punk band, or like you go to a Salson show. This is the kind of Anthony Green you're going to get. That kind of edgy, more of a rock type vocal, even though the instrumental stays very acoustic and almost hollow. It's a cool contrast.
The chorus, very pretty sounding, even though, again, he's singing kind of about, how he's failed and can't be saved and stuff. It's just so pretty sounding.
Yeah, it really is. And it'll get stuck in your head if you're not careful.
Yeah.
But I love the cool thing that he does where he takes all these images and then he mixes and matches pieces in each chorus. It's never exactly the same thing twice.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've got screaming like a whale from the love I failed, then falling to the floor in a restless state, then burning like a candle at both his ends, and falling to the floor again in the second chorus. And then at the end, we match screaming like a whale with burning like a candle.
Yeah, he kind of combines them.
It just, everything fits together differently.
I always like it when artists vary up their chorus just slightly.
Mm-hmm. It's cool to see how mixing and matching different pieces of the same story can express the same idea in different ways.
This is the longest song, or this, I guess, the longest song on the album, not counting the title song at the very end. The first and last song on the albums are the longest by almost a whole minute.
And what's interesting about it being the longest is that they shot the music video for this in one take. Only one.
Really?
Yeah, the music video is Anthony Green walking down a beach, and then, someone that's supposed to be him comes out of the ocean, and they have this big brawl on the beach. And it's actually so interesting to watch because it's filmed mostly in slight slow motion.
Yeah.
So even though all their lips and the music and stuff syncs up, they're having this slow motion fight on the beach, it still fits with the song in tempo.
Huh.
It's very cool. And in the end, of course, Anthony Green starts getting dragged out to sea by his kind of evil doppelganger.
Oh, so he loses.
Yeah.
That is cool. This song makes it into Connor top 3.
Wow, right off the bat.
Yeah, kicking it off. Song number 1, Connor top 3. It's just got such a pretty chorus, and like you mentioned, the shame, the way that they hold that out, just shame, oh. It's just
I think I like I'm Not Holding You Back better than You'll Be Fine.
really.
I'm Not Holding You Back is track 2, and it starts off with this really big harmony, like very abruptly. How will we get past our last regret? Oh, is like what he sings. It's very nice.
I think my problem with this song is it doesn't really go anywhere musically.
Really?
You hear what the instrumentation is doing at the very beginning with the how will we get past our last regret? Oh, doesn't have to be the end. We could last. The first couple lines pretty much tell you everything that's musically going to happen in the song. And it does that pretty much on repeat.
No, I disagree, because there's a significant change on the chorus. This is, in terms of the chord progression, this is one of my favorite songs on the record.
They, get a little more drawn out with it there. And I don't know if they take it minor or not. I don't know. That's your territory.
Right.
They do a little something with it, but then they just revert it all back to what it was. The majority of the song, it doesn't move. It doesn't ebb and flow nearly as much as like You'll Be Fine does.
No, I'll give you that. What they do in the verse,
It's just a little too stagnant.
yeah, fair. The verse goes back and forth between a C and a G sharp. Those are the 2 chords in the verse. And then in the chorus, that switches up completely on its head to a D sharp and a C minor. And that's what I love about it.
It does go minor. Haha, look at me, audience. I did it.
I mean, in a sense. But I love the way that he shifts it so that he can include that C minor and the C both in the same song.
Yeah.
It's not super common, and I love the different texture that brings to the sound. I'll agree, musically it stays kind of at the same level the whole time, but that level is so like big and vast, I guess. It feels like the whole song packs an equal punch for me.
I don't know. I spent too much time in the song waiting for it to go somewhere, and you can only wait for so long.
I guess. Lyrically, this song will make your heart ache, won't it? I mean...
Yeah, this song has some great lyrics, I'll give you that.
He says, I hear you say you won't let go first. I wish I believed you when I'm not holding you back. Please don't let me change your mind. I'll do anything to stay. Like, I'll do anything to keep you here, but I can't stop you from leaving.
I'll do anything but stop you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's just this really heartfelt expression of feeling like he's not good enough, that he's not deserving of this relationship, or that he's afraid that his partner's going to leave him.
Is this one of the ones about his wife?
Yes.
And I think that sense of insecurity is something a lot of people can identify with too.
Yeah.
So if you're paying attention to the lyrics careful, your own heart will start to ache as you identify with some of his insecurities.
And I love some of these lines just throughout. At the end, he says, time spent, we gaze upon our last stand, and goes on to say, never had a lot to say, I won't be back. Which is just, it's interesting to talk about, I'm not holding you back, but if you do leave, I will be too hurt to try this again. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That's it for me.
It was pretty. The oh was really pretty. I love me a good oh, as we talked about several times on the podcast. But the song was just, like I already said, stagnant for me.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know. I just can't get over the way that he dips into that I hear chord. At the beginning of the chorus, he just dips into that D sharp. He just really leans into the uniqueness of that with his vocal melody, and I like that. So maybe I'm just biased by that one part.
Yeah.
Let's move on to track 3, Will It Be? In the same vein as You'll Be Fine, Will It Be is a song about Green's imminent fatherhood, because, the whole hook of the chorus is waiting to see my boys.
Last song, you gave me grief for calling it stagnant because of the whole shift into with the minor C's or whatever. This song, I mean, you don't even realize you enter the chorus. That's how stagnant this one gets with the guitar. It's just that guitar strumming the exact same beat over and over. I mean, you move from verse to pre-chorus into chorus and nothing really varies musically. It's just the same melodic beat.
Seamless. This is a seamless song.
Yeah. And again, it just didn't do it for me. I want the music to change up. I can only listen to the same guitar strum so many times.
Well, get ready. I mean, there's a whole album still to come.
I know. This is going to be a similar point I bring up throughout the album. Usually I complain about the lyrics being repetitive, but in this guy, he's found a way to make music super repetitive. Like, his lyrics are so good. I love his, like, I'm having the exact opposite reaction that I usually have. Usually it's like, oh, I love the music, but man, you couldn't come up with better lyrics. And this time I'm like, man, I love your lyrics, but do something different with the music, my guy.
That's what I love. I love serving you up different albums where one element is off from something we've talked about before.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's always interesting to see how you react to a given element.
And it's sad too, because so many of these songs, right, are ballads, and those are usually the songs I identify with. But when you don't do anything with them, like, these are just ballads for the sake of ballads. You're not doing anything special with them. So I was a little disappointed.
Lyrically, though, I mean, I do love this song. He talks about at the beginning how I was born apart from my brothers and never felt a part of that. And he says, how do I teach things that I never learned? How do I impart on my kids the experience that I never got to have? It's something I'm unfamiliar with, but I want them to have it. Where can I bring it to them, you know? I mean, I love it. It kind of begs this question, the whole song. He's thinking, like, can I even affect them in that way? Or are they just destined for a certain way of growing up?
It's like the whole nature versus nurture argument.
Yeah, exactly like that. This song pretty much embodies that.
And it's something, again, I feel like this song would really identify with us if either one of us was a father, you know?
Yeah, you're right. It probably would hit differently even then. I mean, looking beyond the repetitiveness of the music, I really love the way that it's mixed and mastered. You know, the vocal harmonies, the song would lose so much without the harmonies on the chorus. Even though they're kind of overshadowed by his main melodic vocal, those harmonies do so much to support that in such a subtle way. And the guitar is so well mastered. It just sounds great. And this track is not alone in that quality, but it's the first one where I really noticed it because how few other things are going on.
Again, it wasn't a bad song by any sense of the word, but it was just one of those ones that, like, I fallen asleep during because it just didn't go anywhere.
And I guess, again, that's the difference in interpretation, like how you experience that style versus how, like, I would. Because for me, I mean, this album is so stripped back and the lyrics are so incisive that it kind of just, to me, it gives the album this feeling of authenticity. Whether it is authentic or not, that's how it comes across. Let's talk about track 4, A Reason to Stay.
This one finally shook things up a little bit.
Yeah, this is your upbeat start. I almost get, like, Christmas song vibes from this a little bit, you know?
Nope. We're in Thanksgiving mode. No Christmas song.
I understand.
You already gave me a Christmas album in, like, the month of September.
I love Rock and Roll is not a Christmas album. I stand by it. But
listen, has a Christmas song, Christmas album. Came out at the Christmas time.
No, this is not a Christmas song. That's kind of the energy that it put forth, you know?
I think you're just biased. I think this gives off Thanksgiving vibes.
If you say so.
Listen, out of all the songs on this album, which song sounds the most thematically like Turkey Bird? It's this one, right?
I mean, I guess.
Compared to, like, Will It Be?
Yeah, oh, yeah, it's much closer than that. One thing I like about this song is that we have this developing theme. I mean, it's already started to develop, but this is the song where it really is directly stated, of having a reason to stay. You want something for me. I don't have a reason to stay. Don't let me change your mind. Like, all of these things are about trying to make this relationship work. How do I do this for myself, for my kids, for my wife? Give me a reason to stay. Let me give you a reason to stay. It is just prevalent up until now and past this song.
Again, this one actually, the music goes places, right? You can hear the funky beat change as they enter from verse to verse, and it pulls the lyrics like You'll Be Fine, but not nearly as hard. Like, the lyrics do a little better job of keeping up, but yet it still is pulling it a little bit kind of on the ends of phrases, and so it gets a nice ebb and flow.
Yeah, you're right. Especially on the pre-chorus where he slows down to lay your hands on me, and then it bounces back like you did 100 times before. Is this what you need from me? Which felt like a callback, you know, to you'll leave as soon as I have nothing else you want. Him saying, is this what you need from me, is kind of asking that same question in a different way. I really love the chorus too. We used to feel alive, I believe it's true, running through the night, feeding off our hope, holding on to me so I couldn't get away, but I don't have a reason to stay, I just need you.
Very pretty. He's good at writing these kind of love songs.
I guess you could call him that. It is a love song, but it's from the perspective of someone who feels completely undeserving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a very humble...
I love you, and you say you love me, but I don't get why.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's just some good imagery. Feeding off of our hope, holding on to me so I couldn't get away.
Yeah.
Very vivid imagery.
I mean, it's very clearly descriptive and yet also pretty intangible.
Well, this one also gets on our top 3.
Hey, all right. Yeah, this one's not in my top 3. That's interesting. I think we like this song different levels for different reasons.
We each have our reasons to stay with this song.
That's right. Yes, we do. Well, but I mean, to talk about how this song is so based on intangible imagery, the next song is absolutely grounded in a very understandable metaphor. It's called East Coast Winters.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about this one.
What, you don't like East Coast Winters?
I don't know if I like it or not.
Oh, interesting.
Part of me wants to put it in the top 3, other parts of me wants to put it in the bottom 3. I can't decide.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a weird conundrum.
I know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe as we talk about it, I'll make up my mind.
Yeah. Well, Anthony wrote this song a while before he released the album. And I mean, he clarified that he was in a much better place by the time the album came out. Like I said, he was the happiest he'd been as this album was being released. But at the time he wrote this, he was really struggling with some stuff or having some pretty hard thoughts to deal with. And so this song kind of takes on the role of being a very lonely song. And for the most part, it feels lonely, especially at the start. It's pretty much a one-man show. Like there's no harmonies, no drums, really nothing but guitar. And I think it's really smartly arranged in that way to kind of just convey that emotion through the way the song is put together.
I think what it is, I really, really, really like the chorus. Like, this is probably my favorite chorus on the album. The every time you shut me in, you know, I just really like that. But the verses, he takes so long to say a handful of words, and the music's not really doing anything special at that point. I love the chorus, and so then when he goes back to this kind of more bland, which I get thematically why it's, but it's not what I want from like a listening standpoint.
Yeah.
Like, this is a very, like, I guess it's similar to Dark Side, where it was like concept music, you know?
I guess, yeah, you could understand it in that sense.
This isn't a song that you put on because you want to listen to a fun song.
No.
It's a song you put on because you want the imagery and themes going through it. Like, you put up with the blandness because of what you're hearing from an emotional thematic.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. The verses, you're right. There's less going on, and they are very sparse. But I mean, I think that parallels the idea of an East Coast winter. Anyone who walks down my path after it snows and covers up their footprints is just the first little chunk.
Absolutely. And I said I got it thematically, but it's just it takes so long to say that. I mean, like a whole minute goes by before he gets through the first 3 lines. It's very slow.
Yeah.
When there's not a lot going on to keep you engaged. Well,
fair enough.
But then they hit those choruses. I love it. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's varied. This is a song that mixes things up a lot. And I love the idea. One of my favorite lines on the record is that anyone who walks through my door is already done for. And if you walked a mile in my shoes, you'd never choose. You'd never come back here. Like, this place that I'm in right now is a place that no one would ever want to be. He doesn't mince words.
I think I'm gonna give this song honorable mention.
Okay.
For the chorus, because I could listen to that chorus all day long. It's so pretty. The rest of the song doesn't match it.
Yeah, interesting. I can get behind honorable mention. I'll take it.
You're gonna have to take it. It's what I've assigned it. You can do everything but stop me.
Right, yeah. This song in particular just had a really satisfying rise and fall for me. You know, it starts small with very little going on besides the vocal and the guitar, and then it gets really big towards the middle, gets pretty vast, and then it gets small again. It's almost like this bell curve of sound, I guess, if you want to call it that, just in the way that it is constructed, where the most intense part of the song is kind of right in the middle of it.
Now, on this song, I struggled to decide, you know, I couldn't buy into all of it. I buy in completely to Dawn on the Canal.
Ooh, Dawn on the Canal. Track 6. What do you buy into on this song? What sets this one apart?
The whole vibe of it. The whole vibe of it.
Oh.
From the very beginning, when you get the ba-da-ba, and you get like the, I don't know, is that like maracas? I don't know what it is shaking in the background. You know, something like shakes in the background. I don't know. I just love how it vibes, and then when he comes in with the cadence of the morning was a million. I don't know. I just buy into the whole vibe of this song.
Yeah, it's haunting. This song is one of the most eerie songs on the record.
Spooky. You'd think we were back in October.
You would think it, yeah. But the lyrics really parallel that. Like, the music, like you said, sets it up with this weird little minor chord that's just arpeggiated throughout. And then the lyrics parallel that.
I think that's a tambourine, actually. And just the way, again, the cadence, the way it slides around, like when you get onto the silent, slow, our voices, you know, he's like slides all around. Like, there's no consistent tempo.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and the lyrics are also, they contribute to this atmosphere. Bodies scattered all around the room, quiet and close, and just like a ghost again. I mean, this is a world-building song. You know, you kind of understand the entire energy of it right from the get-go. And we do, yeah, at that silent and slow part, we just get suspended there until the chorus. Going beneath, and it holds and it holds. You're really like holding your breath. You're stuck there with it. And the simple chorus is don't say no, no. That is maybe the floatiest part of the record. I don't know. It's just like the music is there and it's identifiable, but it's so ambient.
And like here, you know, I complained about how slow he would go and how long it would take him to say just a couple of words. But here, when he does the don't say no, it's just so good. The hit of the chorus, like you said, it keeps you suspended on the going beneath, and then you hit don't say. Like, it's perfect.
That little half step will do it.
Needless to say, this song rounds out the Connor top.
Top 3 already by track 6.
Yeah.
And a honorable mention.
Yep.
You've taken 4 out of the first 6.
Yep.
Wow, I admit that I'm a little disappointed by your top 3 because, well, first of all, On The Canal is not near my top 3, but there's a notable omission that we'll get to later.
Yeah, I have a feeling I know which one.
Yeah, you probably do. I just like this song. The chorus is just so wonderful. The only thing that I notice a lot about this one is that the tense part does get to be a little bit long around the end of the second verse. When you've been listening to it for all of the first verse and all of the second verse, like, it starts to get a little played out, but only the tiniest bit.
I'm okay with you saying that, but the fact that you know what it's building to, I think saves it, because you know they're about to come back in with a "Don't Say No" again.
Yeah, you're right.
And so it saves it because you're like anticipating that hit again.
Maybe it makes you anticipate it even more because
yeah,
you're still in this tense state. You're waiting for that release to come.
So I can see how it would get old, but it didn't for me.
Yeah, I get that.
Now, from what I understand, track 7 is called From What I Understand.
Yeah, you understand correctly. From what I understand is track 7. The first thing I noticed about this, I mean, right away, is just the way that the drums tumble on this one. You know, that's kind of the style of them. It rolls right along with the drums.
Yeah.
Especially since usually the drums are what hold this record down, to have them be the thing that's more free-flowing here.
I would almost describe the drums, I describe them in my notes as muddy. They kind of, like you said, tumbled along and kind of got mixed up in themselves almost.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think From What I Understand is almost the sleeper track of the album. You know, it's forgettable, but it's really solid.
Yeah, I don't know. I would agree with the first part of that sentence. It was forgettable.
Well, yeah, okay, fair.
Off of one take, it was forgettable.
Sure. It feels pretty lyrically dense. You know, release my arrow, but I forgot to aim. It burdens me that I'll never get to start deciphering the words from what I understand.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what that imagery is supposed to be. He starts off with the release my arrow, but I forgot to aim. And so, like, I was with that. But then he goes on to this deciphering thing and how it fits in with the releasing of his arrow. I was a little confused.
I was too, and I think maybe this is a song that's more personal to him than it's meant to be understood by us, if that makes sense. Like, maybe this is a song he wrote for himself and put on the record.
Yeah.
Because there are we seem to be missing some pieces as listeners.
Because, like, he started with the release my arrow, but I forgot to aim, and with all the songs about his wife and, like, kind of love songs style things, I was like, maybe he's going for, like, a Cupid imagery there, you know? Like, and then he gets into this deciphering the words. And, like, is from what I understand, like, the words he's trying to decipher? Or is that him saying from what he understands, he's never going to get to decipher the words? Like, I don't know how from what I understand fits into the line deciphering the words.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I thought in this instance, he was trying to decipher the words from what I understand. The second verse changes it up a little bit because it's preceded by divided and away, from what I understand. And that to me felt like, as far as I can understand, things are divided and away. I don't know. It's different. It's a tough lyric to crack.
It's a tough one to decipher, yeah, from what I understand. Maybe that's the point of it. We're struggling to decipher his words.
Yeah, from what we understand.
I kind of like that.
I do love the way that when he sings, from what I understand, everything cuts out for a beat, and then we get into the chorus. Like, the chorus feels on an island from the rest of the verses, and I like that. In the chorus, he sings, "Please don't think of me like I'm your captor. What are you after?" And again, it's that same preoccupation with concerning yourself with how the other person in the relationship understands you to be. Like, it's the same, I'm not holding you back. Don't think of me like I'm your captor. Go. You know, do what you need to do. Be free.
Yeah. And that goes really well with the second chorus where he changes up. He says, "Don't pretend with me like you're an actor." He's saying, don't stay and just lie to me and pretend because you think I'm going to be hurt.
Right, exactly. It's just, it's interesting too. I mean, in the bridge he says, "You ask me to go without me, you're free, but I couldn't let it be." The whole song is a tough nut to crack, so to speak. This is a tricky one. And I think that's one of the reasons that it comes across as forgettable. Let's talk about Cellar next.
Yeah, Cellar. What did you think of Cellar?
Cellar, that's the one that I have mixed thoughts about. You know how you talked about you've got one that you can't tell whether it's in the top or bottom 3? Cellar often occupies that spot for me because it's cool. You know, it's stripped back. It's just the guitar and his voice in the beginning. The guitar and the chords go down all the time, but his voice, his melody is constantly rising and rising and rising through the verse. And then in the chorus, they kind of switch places and he starts to do the descending and the chords rise up to meet him. And it almost feels again like a march with very punctual rhythms behind his words and the fifths that he's singing, that interval. So it's unique, and I guess I like it for its novelty.
This is the song that I wanted to give honorable mention to. Like, it was between this and East Coast Winners for honorable mention. And the reason I went with East Coast Winners, so this one is the opposite. East Coast Winners, I didn't care for the verses, but that chorus hit was beautiful. This one, I liked the cadence and everything going on with the verses, but the chorus was kind of meh for me.
I can see it in your eyes. Yeah, I can see without compromise, you're all I need.
It was just kind of bland.
I agree.
But the reason I gave the honorable mention to East Coast Winners instead, even though it had less of the song that I was happy with, was because the impact of what I was happy with was greater. While I liked the verses on Cellar, they didn't have as big of an impact on me as the chorus of East Coast Winners.
No, I agree with that 100%. If I were comparing those two sections of these two songs, that's how they would land for me too. I think what it is I think this is a good song on the album, but I don't know if it holds up out of context. Because Cellar feels like a cornerstone of Pixie Queen in terms of just its style and its lyrics. It feels like a very important song to this record. However,
but as a single,
on its own, yeah, I think a lot of that weight fades away from it when you take it out of this context. And that's probably why I struggle with it so much.
And that's part of why I described this album as a concept album, because things like that, right? These songs are meant to build off of one another and work together to give you this vibe. And they're not really going for the, are you going to listen to this on the radio?
Right. Yeah, this is an album that's built to be the way that it is. You know what I mean? It's not meant to be piecemealed out. There's very strong threads that run through each song, both in the way that they sound and the themes that they present. I would call this a pseudo concept record.
Yeah, which that kind of hurts it for me because I'm like, again, I'm the guy that listens to like nothing but mixtape songs, right? So
I know, yeah, you gave the concept album 7.
So like piecemealing out songs and listening to individual tracks is like my entire musical taste. So
I know concept records are a bit much for you sometimes.
Hey, what's that supposed to mean?
That means you gave Dark Side of the Moon a 7.
Yeah, I stand by it.
I know you do. I do love the idea behind the chorus. I could see it in your eyes. I could see without compromise, you're all I need. I can hear it in your sigh. I can hear without compromise. It's just, on a certain level, it's very primal, like instinctual, you know? You being all I need is just understood. It's like instinct, you know?
Yeah.
And I love how this song ends hanging on that last need and the dissonance between the vocal and the chords. Like, that's just a nice little cherry on top of this song that is ultimately so confusing for me, just in terms of how I feel about it. But I like the way that it starts and it ends.
Fair enough.
Now, I want to know, is the next song, I mean, you've got your tops already, but does the next song make it into your better half? The next song is called Better Half. Personally, it's one of my favorites. I like it.
Is this the one you said was missing from my top 3?
No.
Okay, good.
Believe it or not, as much as I like this one, there's still one coming that I like a lot better.
Better Half reminds me of one of the earlier songs in terms of like the musical structure. Like, again, it's just the guitar strumming along the entire song, not going anywhere.
Yeah, you're right. It's the same lack of a change in energy level.
I would say this one was better than whichever song it was earlier.
Sure.
I liked it better here, but it still is just, it didn't do anything for me. Just a guitar strumming the same kind of beat and rhythm the whole time.
I guess. The difference is, I feel like the emotion in this one lies in the minutia of it, where, you know, you get to no one ever gets my better half, and then it dies for a second. No, that it picks back up. You know what I mean? It's the little things like that he relies on to give it texture.
Yeah, this one does it better.
This one's actually a sweeter love song of sorts.
Yeah.
You know, no one understands my better half with all of her quirks. And he talks about that in the first verse. She never has a lot to say anytime I try. She always wants to hear me sing, like telling her a story. Says it helps her relax and unwind. Like, he's kind of illustrating how he understands this person better than anybody.
Or so he thinks. That's a little narcissistic, isn't it? You're like, oh, no one could possibly understand my wife better than me.
Well, I don't think it's that no one could possibly do it. It's because the chorus is no one ever gets my better half. Like, even though people have tried, nobody ever gets it.
Fair enough.
And then the second verse takes that kind of classic Anthony Green turn, where he talks about all the things that he's done that have kind of led to burdens on her, and that's why he understands her. You know, every time I go away, she has to be home chasing after the baby. It feels more like in the second verse, he shifts.
I like the second half of the verse when he goes into the anytime I'm anxious, imagine that I'm with her and I'm no longer blue.
Yeah.
I really like that.
I do too.
The idea that he kind of daydreams about being there and it makes him feel better.
Yeah, that's sweet. And I mean, he expounds upon that even more in the bridge. You're always in my head and you've been there from the start. I don't know, as far as I'm concerned, I feel like this is a pretty quick and quaint, cut and dry love song, you know?
It definitely is.
At least for this record, it's about its sunniest moment, almost. And we follow up one of the happiest moments on the record with one of the lowest points emotionally on the record. I mean, we go from the song Better Half to I'm sorry for everything I've ever done. And And like, this is another title that's going to fill you in on exactly what the song is about.
It's a very sad song.
Yeah, this is one especially where I noticed the lyrics lagging behind and being pulled by the music.
Really?
Yes, but even in this case, the music is so slow, and that's, I think, what makes it stand out more.
I was going to say that the lyrics matched the music. They were just slow in general. It wasn't like the music was trying to move on without the lyrics. The music was moving just as slow as the lyrics.
I still felt like the lyrics were being pulled behind.
This is another one where musically it's very stripped back, right? Not a lot going on. It's mainly just that piano hitting those chords.
Yes.
And so I felt like really it was the lyrics kind of moving the music along, telling the piano when to hit the next chord again. It's like, all right, I'm ready to move on to the next line, so go ahead and hit a new chord.
Yeah, I guess I can understand that way too. I guess it just depends on where you start listening to it. You know, how you understand it at first is how it's going to persist through the rest of the song.
That is true. A lot of good lyrics in here, though.
Oh my goodness, yeah. The first verse starts, I was a fool praying for death. I made a joke, nobody laughed, and she got uncomfortable like it was sad. And then on the second verse, he flips that around a little bit and he says, I was a joke, nobody cared. She got uncomfortable, she was so scared. And, you know, we talked about some of his harmonies on other tracks being distant or really in the background. On this song, it feels like his main melody is way back there. Like my focus kind of phases between his melody and the higher part of the harmony because of how just close together they are.
I really like the line. I guess I just like the string of lines here where it says, I made a joke, nobody laughed. She got uncomfortable like it was sad. Then into, I didn't want anyone else to hear. Then I told a lie and everyone knew. She got uncomfortable like it was true. I don't know. I just really like she got uncomfortable.
Yeah, the parallel of that is really good.
Yeah.
And then he ends each verse with please forgive me. That feels like the begging cry of most of this record for me, you know? And I guess in kind of a way, that's what makes this feel like an autumnal album. Like it feels fitting for the fall because that's like his whole demeanor kind of parallels this fall. He acknowledges that he's been bad and he's experiencing this. He's begging for forgiveness. Like it's Pixie Queen as an album is just this resignation to the reality of himself. It's like a recognition that he can change, but an admission that he's got so much work to do.
Part of the reason this maybe feels like a fall album is because of how depressing, you know, a lot of these lyrics are. Like he's sad, he's self-deprecating, right?
Yeah.
And about now is when the seasonal depression hits in people who have it, you know?
That's true.
Days are getting dark sooner, you know? I don't know. This kind of fits that kind of seasonal depression slip.
Yeah, the air's getting colder and there's this inherent distance to the songs.
Yeah.
And it just kind of feels the same as like autumn in a lot of ways. It's, again, very intangible, very abstract to think about it that way.
Because, again, autumn is always considered one of the prettier seasons, too, with like the leaves falling and the pretty colors and all that. But then, like you said, it's getting colder. The days are getting shorter.
It's colder, it's darker. It
so it's like that juxtaposition exists kind of here where he has his moments where he's like, you know, you're my better half, and he's got the moments, but then he very easily can also just pull it all the way back, strip it all the way back into a song like this and get very sad and real.
Yeah, I love that comparison with the beauty and the dark and cold at the same time. They go hand in hand. Like on these songs where he's talking about, yeah, I'm a father and I love my kids, I love my wife. Am I good enough for this? Am I gonna screw this up?
But I have no self-confidence. Yeah. Is love enough?
Right. Or do you need to take more for me? Like, what do I need to be for you? How can I do it? And yeah, it's just this really...
And if I'm ever not enough, get out of here. Go.
For your own sake.
You know,
yeah.
I'll understand.
Exactly. It's just this intense expression of all those things rolled into one.
Yeah.
But I think that brings us to the album closer.
And title track.
Pixie Queen.
This is the song, right? This is the one?
This, as far as I'm concerned, this is the gem of the record.
Really?
Far and away, I feel like Anthony Green does save the best for last. Yes.
Huh.
Oh yeah, I think this is such a great way to cap off this record. Sonically, it's the biggest song on the record. Lyrically, I think it's the most poetic, the most beautiful in a sense. I feel like it's one of the most powerful title tracks we've looked at yet, and maybe one of the most fitting ones for the album that you'll find on any record, period. At least for me.
Me and 3 million Spotify listeners disagree with you.
Okay.
Pixie Queen only has just under 500,000 plays, whereas You'll Be Fine has 3.5 million.
You'll Be Fine is not as good as... I love Pixie Queen. I love it.
East Coast Winners has almost 2 million.
Man.
This is sitting very middle of the road in terms of Spotify plays, and I think it sits pretty middle of the road for me too, where I would put it.
Wow.
You know, I got my top 3. I had my 2 that were competing for honorable mention, so that would give me 5 of them. This would probably go in at about slot 6.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is still, again, that's literally pretty much dead even at the halfway point.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's 11 tracks, so...
Yeah, 6 is dead middle as far as we can get.
That's where it sits for me.
Wow. I just like it a lot. I don't know. Something about it. It's always scratched the itch.
It's It's a little on the long side. This is the longest song, as we mentioned earlier.
Oh, I know, but I could listen to it on repeat forever.
I think his slower style that he puts in songs is better for these shorter songs like Cellar and stuff like that, where they're on the shorter side, because you don't have a chance to get bogged down by the slowness and repetitiveness. Your attention span only can last so long. I don't know. It's a pretty song. There was no big special, there was no in East Coast Winters where there's that big chorus hit. There was no really spots like that in this song for me.
Really? Oh, this has some of the biggest.
Like where?
Oh, so first of all, lyrically, I love it. He starts off, if we could pick our own parasite, then later accept we'd be better off dead. Like all of us to some extent, we all choose our vices and then have to come to terms with them, with the way that we've made for ourselves. And we realize that it's all sucking the life out of all of us. It's hurting those that we love, and to be better off for them, for us to not be around, I love that. And then we get into the chorus, and it's big. I mean, going into the chorus, we get the whole da-na, da-na-na. That run up into the chorus feels great.
Yeah, that part, the da-da-da, is cool, but it's not like a big hit. In terms of level, it stays exactly where the stuff before it was. And the chorus, when it comes in, stays at the exact same level, even though musically it's changing it up. And the ba-da-da is cool. He doesn't go anywhere with it.
Oh, come on.
It stays at the same level.
No, I disagree, because he launches into that chorus with his really high vocal on Suspend Within Your Life. It lasts so long.
Yeah, the note is cool, but the intensity of the song does not change. It goes from You'll Still Be My Pixie Queen into ba-da-da, which is still just as flat as the You'll Still Be My Pixie Queen, which then goes into Suspend Within Your Life. But that is still the same intensity level. He doesn't go anywhere with the intensity level. So while the music, it has all this potential, it just didn't go anywhere.
Man.
Stagnant's really the best word for it. His singing style and musical playing style is flat. Even though he's doing all these complex and cool things, you got to have that intensity shift, You got to have your softer moments or your big hits. What should have been a huge intensity hit, like a big bum bum, it's still just ba-da-da.
But that's the thing.
It's not going anywhere.
But it's heavy compared to the rest of the album, which is what I think sets it apart. I don't know. I love the lyrics too. I never thought you'd be still sleeping next to me.
The lyrics are good. I mean, I've been applauding his lyrics this whole time. It's musically where he's suffering this entire album for me, which is the opposite of where I usually am.
Fair enough. I don't know. The chorus goes, I never thought you'd be still sleeping next to me. If I could make it through, I'll meet you there. I never thought you'd still be my Pixie Queen. I can't believe you're still tolerating me. I can't believe that even after how awful I've been to you, you find a way to love me.
Yeah, it's all great.
I'll try my best to find a way to be better for you. And even if I can't, I'm still just enchanted by you. I love that sentiment.
I love it. Now take that sentiment and actually put some intensity behind it.
It's the most intense song on the album. It's
yeah, but in the song itself, right? It doesn't go anywhere. It stays at the same level the entire song. So for 5 minutes straight, that's all you're getting. I'll agree, it shakes it up compared to some of the other songs on the album, but you gotta listen to 5 minutes of it not going anywhere, of it being, while still higher than everything else, flat. It'd be like if you were walking in a wheat field versus walking in a wheat field that's up at the peak of Mount Everest.
What?
It's still just flat. It's higher, but it's flat.
I mean, sure, whatever.
That's a weird analogy. I get it, but
wow, I thought this would get a better reception from you. I love this song.
Yeah, as soon as you said that you were disappointed that there was a song missing, I was like, oh, jeez, I'm gonna have to battle on Pixie Queen.
Yeah. But you don't what about the end, where he takes the bridge and the chorus and blends it together? The bridge goes, I don't need this, we can't stay here, I will follow you into another life. And he blends that together with the chorus. You'll still be the one to lead me out, and you're still my Pixie Queen, my way out of the mess.
Yeah, you know why it blends so easy? Because the entire song's flat. It's easy to blend something when you're not going anywhere the entire time.
It is not as flat as you're making it out to be.
I might be exaggerating from my point, but
I feel like if the audience listens to this, I'm curious to see whose side they take more.
Oh, they'll probably take your side. I mean, let's be honest here. I feel like the majority of the time the audience is going to take your side because I have pretty extreme one-shot take opinions on some of these songs.
I feel like, yeah, once you got that in your head, probably towards the beginning of the song, you didn't process any of the slight changes of intensity that maybe happened.
See, I don't want slight, though. I don't want slight changes. I want bigger changes. A slight change doesn't do it for me.
Maybe. I don't know.
It's okay to do slight changes periodically on a slow song here. And if the blend was the only slight change and all the other changes were bigger bigger and more dramatic, it would have been great. But when your entire album is nothing but slight changes, then you're barely changing at all the entire time. That's why I liked Cellar so much, because Cellar really shakes it up with this like more driven beat and the tambourine in the background. Like, I think Cellar is one of the most different songs on the album.
It is.
And that's why I think I liked it.
I think really the nuance of this album is in the subtlety like that. I think that's what makes it such a unique record.
I don't want nuance.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, it's got to be in your face for you, I guess.
It doesn't have to be in my face. It just has to be not hidden.
This is an album that's anything but in your face. The entire record is about how he doesn't feel adequate for a lot of things in his life. And I think he presents that in a way that
is fitting. I guess concept albums just aren't my thing. I didn't care for Dark Side. Didn't care for this.
I guess not, yeah.
We're learning.
We're learning. Yeah. This kind of was an experimental episode for me.
This might have been the biggest disappointment of an episode that we've done.
Wow.
Not counting Kanye, I mean, but I went into that not expecting to like it, you know?
Oh, no.
So it's not really a disappointment. Kanye met expectations.
It exceeded your expectations. You wanted to give it a 2.
And actually, yeah, you're right, it did. But going into this and like knowing that it was going to be a lot of ballad style songs, I was really hopeful to really like this album. And it was too much of a good thing.
Fair. Okay. This is a record that I threw at you, very curious about how you'd respond to it, because it is...
Are you disappointed?
No. Well, I'm not going to be disappointed in any... Well, I won't be disappointed in many of your scores, especially for a record like this one. I mean, we could debate Dark Side all day long, but for this album, I mean, you couldn't disappoint me with whatever you score it.
So if I scored this a 1, you wouldn't be disappointed?
I'd be surprised, but I think it's interesting to hand you an album like this that is all ballads that I know that you typically like, but then is also flipped up on the lyrics and the music being, you know, one over the other, like we talked about. Like, I just have one variable changed on this record.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see how varied your response is on all these different songs.
I responded to it quite drastically.
Yes. Yes, you did.
I also feel like we've moved into final spin territory, so welcome, audience.
Yeah, we're already in the final spin. It snuck up on us.
Surprise. So yeah, why don't you go ahead and just give me a summary of your thoughts and what your top song is. I think we've kind of already covered all of that.
Yeah, top song. I'll start with top song.
It's gotta be Pixie Queen, right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll just roll smoothly into that. It's absolutely Pixie Queen is my top song. I think this record is very interesting in a lot of ways. I've always liked the nuance of the music, even more than I like the lyrics. Let's talk like music and lyrical scores. I'll roll them into one, because they're kind of intertwined on this one in a little bit of a way. I mean, we've talked so much about it already, but I really like the way that he structures his chords. Like we mentioned on, first of all, Pixie Queen, there's some really lovely major sevenths. I'm a sucker for major sevenths.
Major sevenths, sucker.
I know. There's also some on Will It Be. I'm Not Holding You Back is lovely with the way that he dips down into I hear. Like, and there's a lot of clever stuff. We talked about the eeriness on Dawn on the Canal, the tumbling drums on From What I Understand. I'm pretty much a fan of the music across the board on this one. Now, I agree, there are times where it gets repetitive or times where the intensity level doesn't move quite enough. And I think for that reason, I'm giving music an 82. Lyrically, I like a lot of this record, but I mean, if you take the lyrics out of the context of the music, which does so much to amplify them, I think they lose a considerable amount. We talked about songs like From What I Understand, where I feel like we're just missing pieces here and there. Or we talked about something like East Coast Winters, where there's just so little going on in the first verse, like it's so sparse.
Yeah.
Like the lyrics are pretty strong. I think they lose a lot in the absence of music. So for lyrics themselves as an isolated piece of this record, I'm giving them a 78. Very heartfelt, very incisive and introspective, super emotional, but...
So lower the music. Seems like you were really hyping up that.
Oh, I had to hype up the lyrics more than the music, because that's the part that you liked better. I had to sell what you were buying on this record.
Fair enough.
I think instrumentation and production and vibe go together a lot on this one as well. The instrumentation is good. You know, the guitar playing is mastered really well, like I said. I love his vocal harmonies almost all the time throughout this record. The ways that they bring it close and far away when it needs to be, it's very well done. And it does give the record a certain distinct vibe. I think it stands out amongst the records in my personal catalog of ones that I'm familiar with for those reasons. I'm giving instruments and production a 78. I think most of the reason for that is because a lot of these songs do, I admit, they do tend to get a little samey just in the way that they're put together, with the guitar just going, you know, like you said, just strumming guitar the whole way. We talked about it on track 3 and said, well, you're in for a whole album more of that. And you are. I mean, it's no secret that that's a bit of a one-trick pony. In terms of vibe, though, I think the album's really consistent.
Vibe is where it's strongest.
The vibe is where it's strongest, and the score reflects that. I'm giving vibe an 84.
84.
Because the combination of all these things rolled together, I mean, we even talked about it with Cellar, like being a good song in the context of the album, but not meant to be piecemealed out. The album as a whole feels greater than the sum of any of its parts in terms of music, lyrics, and instrumentation. Everything seems like it works better together than it stands alone. So, in terms of a total score, all of that averages out to a cool 81.8.
81.8. What's that put it in terms of rank?
Currently, Pixie Queen is sitting at 253 on my album list. And again, maybe sounds a little low, but
That's out of
it is out of 447, so
just a little under middle of the road.
slightly under middle of the pack, yeah.
Not bad though.
And again, how it scores is not in any way a reflection of how much I enjoy it.
Yeah. You got to be objective. You got to be way more objective with your score than I do. I get to just go, I hated it.
Too, yeah, exactly. You could say whatever you want. I'm really interested to hear your score on this.
Yeah. So for me, honorable mention again went to East Coast winners. And then my top three were A Reason to Stay, You'll Be Fine, and my favorite song on the record. I'm able to pick a favorite.
Oh, you got a favorite. Wow.
Dawn on the Canal. I really enjoyed it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Dawn on the Canal, honestly, one of my least favorites on the album.
Not surprised. I just really liked it. It
Sums it up, doesn't it?
It was very different.
It is.
In terms of the record, I really enjoyed the lyrics. He crafted a lot of very visually stunning lyrics. Really set you into exactly what he was saying, you know, that allowed you to picture it. And they were very deep and thoughtful and relatable lyrics, I think, for people who struggle, you know, with self-confidence.
Yeah.
It was just the music killed it for me. It went nowhere. It was too stagnant. It was the same. All the things I said throughout this entire album. Don't need to rehash it all. But as good as the lyrics were, you know, it's not something I'd want to listen to over and over. A lot of these songs aren't going to make it onto my playlist of random songs.
Sure.
And I think that, like we said, the vibe of the album was strong, if not depressing. And I don't know, maybe that factors into it a little bit. Maybe I didn't like just how sad the whole album was.
It's, yeah, prevalently sad. Like, it emanates sadness.
Yeah. And so for me, this week, for Pixie Queen, I'm giving it 5 turkey birds out of 10.
Oh, wow. 5. We're back
A
all the way
5.
down to a 5.
A 5.
Wow, we don't have many 5s. It's kind of rare.
Yeah, 5 is the lowest score I've ever given, so...
Although I do feel like, am I wrong in saying that this is one of the 5s that, I mean, you had more positive things to say about this 5 than the other 5s, which are, by the way, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and Kin by Kanye and Electric Guest, respectively.
I think it goes at the top of the 5.
Okay, that's what I thought, and I can live with that.
It definitely beats out Kanye, and I think it beats out Kin. This one, I think, actually really sits pretty on par with Kin from a re-listenability standpoint. I think I said the same thing about Kin. That
Wow.
While I like some of the songs, I wouldn't listen to the songs very much.
That surprises me because while I think this record works better as a whole, like we talked about, I think Kin is just as strong divided as it is together.
I think I would agree with that. I would agree with that because Kin is like the exact opposite of this, where all the songs, I think, like you just said, stand on their own and don't really go together in any meaningful way.
Oh, okay. So they don't congeal as much. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas this one, they congeal well, but once you pull them apart, they get weakened down to the level of a Kin song.
Sure. Oh, I love it. Listen, we're at the point in the podcast now where you're comparing albums. Like before, you didn't know any. And now we actually have things that we can pick out that we liked on other things. That's great. That's so exciting.
I'm like an AI. I'm getting more information and getting better as you feed me more data.
Audience, I forced a bot to listen to dozens of albums.
Yeah, I'm just a bot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 5 turkey birds. Gobble gobble. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
It's a terrible song.
It's a great song.
And it's November 1st. Why are you saying Happy Thanksgiving? It's the first weekend in November. This was an interesting episode. I kind of liked the dynamic on this one.
Yeah.
It's ironic because you didn't like the dynamics on the record.
I like it when we disagree.
Yes.
It's like we agreed about things, but for opposite reasons. And then the things we disagreed about were major sticking points.
It's true.
Audience, if you liked the episode, tell us about it in the comments.
Yeah, tell us who you agreed with more. Did you like the album? Did you hate it? I'm curious.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this is one that I've never heard anybody else talk about. I've just listened to it myself. So I'm curious to know what the general perception of it is. That's going to do it this week. We'll be back next week with another record.
What are we doing? What's the genre? Can you give me a tease on what the genre is?
We're going country again next week.
We're going country. When was the last time? We haven't gone country since Hank Williams.
That's right. It's been a minute.
That was old school. Is this more old school or is it more, you know, modern country like?
No, this is in a very funny sense. This is more middle school country.
Oh. I see.
Yes. Well, that's all the tease I'll give you for this week, unless the name Elrod means anything to you, in which case, that's an extra little bit of a tease.
And until then, follow us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook.
At Spin It Pod, at Spin It Pod Official.
MySpace.
No, we don't have a MySpace yet, and we probably never will.
TikTok.
We're at Spin It Pod on Twitter, at Spin It Pod Official on Instagram. Check out our website, www.spinitpod.com, for all of our content. And until then, I feel like you already know what to do, but we have to tell you to do it anyway. Keep spinning.
Keep spinning.
I'm surprised. I'm proud of you. You didn't even make one joke about how Anthony Green and Pixie Queen really rhyme.
I held it back. They rhyme. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, right.